They say in space that no one can hear you scream. But what if you survive that? You think it's over, but then you have to face your terror multiplied. Because this is not just one alien, no. This is aliens. So, what do you do when you make a groundbreaking horror film with one of the most renowned directors of all time? Well, you make a sequel that features an up and coming director who will later go on to become one of the greatest directors of all time, James Cameron.
Worth noting that he was also the writer of this. He had some support by David Giller and Walter Hill, but it was mostly his work.
In fact, he technically wasn't even the first pick to work on this, but of course, things eventually came to him on that regard. Needless to say, you probably have heard it was a success among successes. On a budget of $18.5 million, it made $131.1 to about $183.3 million, thanks to its theatrical run, and became one of the highest grossing films of 1986 worldwide. It's also considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, and given that there's a long history of sequels kind of sucking, that says a bit. But, like Terminator 2, this sequel would also be what would truly supercharge Alien into being that thing that everyone had wanted to collab with, and as you can imagine, would suddenly make the studio that originally thought that making a sequel to Alien would be a disaster have money signs in their eyes and decides, alright, time to sequel it all the way up. But we're not here to talk about how overbloated the franchise may or may not have been based off of who you're talking to. Instead, we're here to actually look at the classic that truly skyrocketed Alien to new heights. And as a matter of fact, we are looking at Aliens, the special edition. Because as you know, at SCWRM, we often try to get the
Well,
most clearest vision
we
that the
did
director
technically
had.
didn't for the first movie, but that I think is because it wasn't super necessary. However, this director's cut is kinda, a bit important because a lot of the scenes that were cut away still, have some kind of meaning, and Disney has this kind of weird reticence into actually adding director's cut to Disney Plus, even as special, features on the pages of their movies that they're putting in the catalog. So that is kind of a problem. That's the version we're watching, audience, and that's what you have to be in sync with us.
All right then. Well, without further ado, start at the old 20th Century Pictures Fox logo and let the merriment begin in 3, 2, 1, click.
So, fun fact, this movie coming out in July crushed about pretty much every single other movie that came out during the month. Big Trouble in Little China, 11 million at the box office. The Great Mouse Detective, 50 million at the box office. Psycho 3, I mean, that's one kind of a joke. 14.4 million. Howling 2 Stirred by Werewolf Beach. I mean, with a title like that, not even registered. Maximum Overdrive, Robotech the Movie, and Nothing in Common. Again, just to make a few examples, all of them completely crushed by this.
Yes, as you can imagine, it had the summer box office fever vibe going for it hard. Also, hi, Michael Bean. I'm sure he won't be in anything else big.
Well, he was in Terminator 2 years earlier.
Also, worth noting is that the score is done by James Horner, and he was in kind of a hurry, if I recall correctly, into making
Yeah,
this.
he only had like 3 weeks to score the whole thing because the production of it wasn't great.
I don't remember if it was actually, too much stress or did not like to working with James Cameron, but he basically, put on hold working with him up until, I think, Avatar.
Also, of course, we have Bill Paxton in a James Cameron movie.
Let me see, when did he started collaborating with... Yeah, it was only up until Avatar that he started working again. So, if you recall, the last movie ended with Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, of course, managing to escape the alien that infiltrated even her, safety capsule and throwing it into the vacuum of space.
And now basically she is left drifting around in space,
Well,
frozen.
along with her cat.
Thank God the cat survived.
Well, we have to see.
Okay, in case you're wondering, at least the Blu-ray I'm watching is the Blu-ray that came out about in 2012.
So it's
Because
not
from what I'm hearing,
No, yeah, the
because
4K restoration sucks. Yes.
Yeah, because I heard that particular one isn't great.
Like, even
Also,
taking beyond the fact that it was done using, internally trained AI similar to a couple of Pixel games that tend to be done in order to be released today, the conversion effect really sucks. Every time a character opened their mouth, there's basically a black hole inside.
Okay.
FBI, open up!
Also, what do you mean have to wait and see, Tio? There's no way they would just kill Ripley and Jonesy in their sleep. That'd be just jumping the shark.
We mentioned Michael Biehn earlier. His role was supposed to be played by James Remar, but he got busted for drug possession.
Wasn't it a similar case in Terminator where he was also not the first pick for that role?
I don't know. So yeah, the point is Michael Biehn came in. I'm not sure if it was last minute exactly, but what happened. And to be fair to James Remar, his career did recover somewhat after that.
Yes, like starring in Hellraiser Inferno as a psychiatrist.
He was in the Odyssey this year, funnily enough.
You know, how funny would it have been? A light comes in and you think it's a doctor come to help Ripley, and it is. But it's a xenomorph doctor! Surprise!
It's like you're just describing the fake out alien, the fake out ending from Event Horizon.
You'll have to define which is a fake out. That whole movie felt like a fake out.
Remember, at the end, the girl is hallucinating that the rescue team is actually still possessed by Sam Neill's demonic, conversion character, but they're not.
Well, apparently he came in pretty late. He arrived after filming had already started.
Welcome back to Earth where you're safe now. Boy, it sure was crazy in the past when those predators were fighting those xenomorphs. How come we never bring that up?
Let's hope also again that Independence Day is not fully integrated into the canon mix, because that would imply also about the two encounters at the end of the 90s and then in the 2010s.
Wait, did they ever try to incorporate Independence Day into the canon?
Remember, Joe, a collector's, the alien species, call is present in Predator Badlands.
Cute.
There you go, there's the cat.
I'm honestly surprised Jonesy didn't become the cutesy mascot of this franchise.
That is probably the calmest ginger cat I've ever seen. Holy shit.
Especially given everything he had to witness.
Oh, and not to mention, they also, during the production, the original cinematographer, a guy named Dick Bush, was also fired from the movie because of creative issues.
Okay.
Cameron wanted it to be atmospheric, but Mr. Bush, wanted brighter lights so he could show off the set more. So he was fired and replaced with Adrian Biddle.
Admittedly, it's possible. James Cameron has turned out a lot of great productions. He's also been infamous for being very stubborn
I
and
can kind of see
sometimes hard
the
to work
vision
with.
because this movie's aesthetic really oozes the whole dark atmosphere with blue lighting all over the place.
That being said,
It was also his first film as a cinematographer.
I can kind of get wanting to make it brighter in some case because, like Terminator,
Aww.
once again, the cat's a great actor. But yeah, whoa.
Wait a minute. Imagine Ripley being infected by a xenomorph. That will never happen.
And stop pushing things over.
I can't tell if they actually slowed down some of the footage or they had the actors
No, it is
talk like they're
genuinely
in mentally slow motion.
And it was a dream.
Surprise!
This is the kind of, shit a lot of movies these days will be criticized for, by the way.
You know, the thing is, it happened a lot in horror sequels where you would see, oh, they have a dream where it turns out the nightmare is not over, but they wake up.
It's
You're
kind of
fine.
an excuse.
But this is a horror sequel.
It is kind of an excuse in order to try to have, a scene where the character is genuinely like in peril without having to compromise them. But as a result, it does feel cheap.
I will say, I think it's okay here since Ripley definitely has every reason to feel like immensely traumatized. Also, are we just pretending that backdrop is real, or nah? There we go.
That still begs the question, however, how long has Ripley been in cryosleep?
Yeah, your daughter.
If you want to know more about her, play Alien Isolation. It's pretty cool as a game. Yeah, her daughter died in the meantime. Because Ellen slept too long.
Admittedly, I feel like she should have known the risks about this since the first movie even had her. Also, God, this was back in the day where people could look that old at the age of 60.
Apparently, that the person they got there is actually Sigourney Weaver's mother.
Cute.
Elizabeth English.
All right, Mrs. Weaver. We need you to play your daughter's child.
I don't know how that felt.
It's kind of recursive. If you play the Isolation, you know how recursive it is because in that game, Ripley's daughter wants to know what happened to her mother and is searching information about it. It's a bit foregone because you know that the two will not be able to, properly meet, but it's still an interesting story.
So as you can imagine, the company is not too happy about her destroying the starship.
Including one of their androids.
Well, of course, Weyland-Yutani are like, you destroyed our expensive ship.
Remember, this was the end of the 80s, where the cyberpunk genre was in full force, so it was the tradition, now kind of sad in hindsight, mentality about the corporation essentially more or less taking over on a political kind of level, becoming nearly untouchable as a result.
I think one interesting thing to imagine is maybe these people are decent. They're just following up on the financial losses since, remember, it's been a long time. So for all we know, these probably aren't even the same executives who had that stupid plan with the xenomorphs in the get-go.
I mean, it doesn't particularly matter if, the mentality of the company has been the same for decades. It is something that is passed on through the generations. Again, look for another example, Final Fantasy VII, where Shinra, despite, everything, always has been cartoonishly evil.
Yeah. Is that Kathleen Kennedy?
Let me see. Don't think so.
It looks like her, but no, that could just be a coincidence. I forget if Kathleen Kennedy ever guest starred in anything.
Possible,
Cameo,
but
yeah.
I don't remember. No seems to be credited.
About that Ripley, they kind of already been here. Heck, one even procreated with a predator. It was weird.
Again, to be fair, by the time this movie was made, obviously there wasn't that kind of pre-planning. But yeah, in kind of hindsight, unfortunately, Ripley doesn't know that Weyland-Yutani is way too much into this shit already.
This actually makes me wonder, with, God help me, the 2018 film The Predator, we do know that one of the ideas was that the person in that Predator suit was supposed to be Ripley. I have to wonder, were they going to establish that time travel was a thing and she was coming back to, I don't know, also stop xenomorphs, since
No idea,
nowadays they're
because
A-okay.
remember, all the alien material posted in Resurrection don't talk about Ripley that much in terms of moving forward the timeline. So after the events of that movie, we have no idea what happened to her.
Which reminds me, I think I've heard some rumors that Sigourney Weaver might be involved in the next big alien project.
Who
Nothing
knows?
solid from what I last heard.
Yeah, this serves to establish that Weyland-Yutani has a relatively, standard procedure when it comes to finding suitable planets that, might still not have a good climate. Literal terraforming ships with colonists planted into them so that it can be basically ready to pop in and prepare the planet for colonization.
Well, I'm sure nothing could go wrong now that they've made that planet hospitable, I'm sure. Hadley's Hope.
Get it? Because there is none. Genius, I tell you.
Have a
So,
nice day.
Ripley, you've managed to survive a horrific monster attack, but your crew is gone, your family are all dead, but at least you got your cat. So, what now to do with the rest of your life?
Train the cat to scratch everyone at Weyland-Yutani.
I'm afraid that's how it works.
No. Be careful. If that cat claws at someone's eye, that'll make them never to trust another person in their lives.
That's alright, they don't trust anyone anyway.
Also, truly, the one thing that can defeat the xenomorphs, toxoplasmosis.
Beautiful. We are now at day number 999 of nothing going wrong here. One more day and we will reach a clear 1,000.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of these people are 2 days left until retirement.
Oh, Marv over there is actually only 1 day away from retirement. She's
That's
very
a very
excited
sweaty
about that.
back. Jesus.
I swear, in the 80s, I wonder if a lot of these sets were just very hot, because I noticed, especially in the 80s, it looks like a lot of people are sweating up a storm half a day. Maybe it's for the immersion of it, but...
Possible.
Oh, the wonders of bureaucracy.
Oh, I recognise that
even
guy
in
on
the
the
future.
left.
Who is he?
Oh.
He plays Captain Hollister in Red Dwarf.
Huh.
He's one of those American actors who lives in Britain.
Wow, Jamie,
course.
want to reference The Shining already, aren't you?
But yeah, I love how apparently Weyland-Yutani also has time to have a toy division if that kid's strike is anything to go by.
Again, the idea is that, remember, the colonists are frozen up until they arrive on the place, but they need to start building families, once they get there. The idea is that, they're gonna start living there properly.
So I'm kind of left wondering, I'm guessing with the way cryosleep is supposed to go that I'm guessing when Ripley and company first showed up in the first movie that it was maybe just a year or two at most, but because of Ripley's is unorthodox cryosleep at the end of the first film, she took longer, because otherwise I'd think she'd have imagined the risks
if
of
I recall correctly,
not
it's more of
getting
a
to see
case
her
where
daughter again.
that's the thing, Joe. I think it's one of those cases where her safe pod drifted aimlessly in space up until it was found.
That would make sense. I only raise it because it seems like they have to use cryosleep, though maybe they use cryosleep mostly so that they don't have to eat much, but I don't know. That looks like a giant eat me sign there.
Truly.
But I'm sure it's safe to go into the giant structure that looks like it might be alive.
The little girl, we'll learn her name later, is played by Carrie Henn. She's a bit important for the purpose of the movie. I don't really think she had much of a, an actress career after this. Let me see.
This was the only thing she ever did. She didn't want to be an actress, so she
Fair.
ended up becoming a teacher instead.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what? Good for her. I have some aspirations for getting up there, but shoot, with some of the stories I hear about how crazy it is up there, I can't blame someone who wants to get out and just live a normal life.
Also, don't forget, Java, you're a bit too old for the producers there.
I do notice that they like to emphasize the blue in this one. I don't know if it's because of the HD restoration, which kind of did something similar.
No. Even the original had it. Again, because of the thunderstorms, the planet is not necessarily just dark, but also constantly under, the blue background of the clouds and the thunder, briefly illuminating that. Let me check the list on IMDb because Wikipedia does not help.
Crud. That's a facehugger.
Let them in. It's just a fairy. Don't you believe in fairies?
Also, lungs on that kid.
Oh, speaking of the film's troubled production, this was filmed in the UK. Cameron and the English film crew did not get on. The crew thinking that the crew thinking he's just a poor Ridley Scott substitute, and disliked him for the fact that he was American, though he was actually Canadian and not British.
Wow.
I can kind of imagine the mentality before the movie came out also being skeptical because they were essentially turning what was a slow-paced, horror movie into something more frantic and action-based.
Not to mention, they also were really hostile towards his wife, producer Gail Ann Hurd, mocking her by saying that she only got the credit because she was married to the director.
Okay, now that's just harassing then.
It's like, geez, I get it. You guys like Ridley Scott, and Alien was great, but antagonizing the guy for being from North America, which I guess you could say technically makes him an American, even though he's from Canada and all that, it's just, nah, that's lame.
Also,
Not to mention, Bill Paxton recalled that Cameron was going nuts at the British crew because he felt that their work ethics were quote unquote indentured, stopping filming just so they could have a cup of tea.
oh, how dare people actually have standards for working and unions?
And Michael Biehn during the commentary claimed that the British crew quote weren't used to working.
Okay. It's funnily enough, didn't Stanley Kubrick also get incensed at the British crew when working on Full Metal Jacket with how much they apparently stopped for tea?
Ugh. It's not great. It's not great all around, is it?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The British film crew are getting hostile just because of the nationality of the person.
Anyway, Timmy, Newt's brother, is played by Christopher Hahn in also his one movie appearance. He only appeared as himself for commentaries of the movie making.
He is like one of the few legit nice executives. Who's this guy played by?
This lawyer guy, let me see.
Is this what Sigourney Weaver kept saying to the Fox executives?
I'm not going back. You hear me? I don't care how much money. Wait, is that a giant truck you're driving into my driveway? Full of money? Okay, one more, but that'll be it. And I have to die in that one, so I
Just
can't
when I
come back.
thought that they pulled me
Also,
that was out, they pulled me back in.
Also, how the hell do you know where I live? Wait,
Yeah, needless
okay,
to say,
was that conversation a nightmare?
I wonder. That said, again, I get the feeling she's not exactly too jazzed about, going back to the site of where her crew picked up something that slaughtered them all one by one.
That would be Paul Razor, yeah, as Burke, if I recall correctly. Let me see what else he did. Oh, this was early in his career. Oh, the year after this, he was in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh, he plays Detective Jeffrey Friedman, I'm thinking that, yeah. Oh, he's Dr. Sam Owens in Stranger Things as well.
Yeah, he has done a lot of TV and movies after this. It's just that I don't... Oh, Goody was in Whiplash in 2014. Does the camera really need to stay close to the characters' faces?
And do they both have to be half naked during this call? I mean, granted, I guess to be fair, probably we're asleep, so fair beans. So yeah, Ripley wants to make absolute sure that there's no tricks. Oh, you're not bringing Jonesy along?
No, I think that's the last that we see of it.
Yeah, for as much a big deal we had about Jonesy's safety in the first film, we never see him again.
Let me check if
that
the
is
alien,
such a Star Wars shot.
Let me check if the Alien Wiki actually has something to say about what happened to...
Goose. No, sorry, Jonesy. God. Wrong space cat I'm thinking of. Did H.R. Geiger come back for this movie?
I think so.
I mean, I know Stan Winston did.
So, we've talked about some iffy things with this production. Well, guess what? This production was apparently somewhat in danger of being cancelled. Since, as we mentioned, the success of Alien, of course, led to immediate discussions of a sequel. And the studio president, Alan Ladd Jr., was supportive of the project, But he left Fox to found the Lad Company in 1979 as well. And his replacement, Norman Levy, was concerned about the cost of producing an Alien 2. Brandywine Productions, as his co-founder David Gillier, said that Levy believed that the sequel would be, quote, a disaster. In fact, Fox executives were kind of believing that Alien's success was a fluke, and that it really hadn't generated enough of a profit to really warrant a sequel. So, yeah, I don't know if James Cameron had that held over his head, but it sounds like Aliens was a sequel that was kind of off and on with when we were going to have it.
The franchise, I think I mentioned when you did the first movie, the franchise has always been kind of a turmoil when it came to the Fox executive deciding what the fuck to do with it. Anyway,
Just to show that Fox executives were always a bit iffy.
I checked. Jones the Cat really has done nothing after this movie. You would think, okay, yeah, it hasn't happened yet, but me thinks that if Disney really actually had like a project that's is to be said after Alien Resurrection that talks about Ripley, they would absolutely chicken out and claim that Jones survived by being put in cryogenic by someone else just so that she can get reunited with her cat because, you know, familiar thing. But regardless of that, the one fun trivia that I found is that apparently in the novelization of the first movie, a lot of the passages are written by the cat's perspective.
What?
Novelizations of movie are bizarre, Jova. I don't know. I think I already told you about what happened in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I know that some novelizations are weird. I've read my fair share, especially with the Pirates of the Caribbean ones, where, believe it or not, the first version of World's End cuts off right before the final battle. It's like in the complete hardcover, combining the first three stories where you actually get the complete story.
Oh, that was Lance Erickson. There's also passages like in the novelization of The Dark Knight Rises, where the CIA agent at the beginning actually is given internal thoughts, and it makes the whole Bane posting sequence even better. Alright, let me check who plays Vasquez. She's basically the hot-headed of the team. Jeanette Goldstein. This was her movie debut in general. First thing she did in her career, apparently.
I've heard a lot of people joke and say that this character is like the predecessor to Michelle Rodriguez characters in general.
Kinda, pretty much. After this, she was in Little Weapon 2, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Star Trek Generations, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Titanic, Clock Stoppers, poor girl. And after 2014, she has mostly appeared in TV. She has voiced on characters in the video game, in some of the video games, like in X-Men Next Dimension, but I don't think Vasquez, the character of Vasquez, appeared in person in any of the Alien games that require voice acting.
Well, with people calling her the predecessor to Michelle Rodriguez,
You're about to see. Okay, Bishop is about to do the five-finger fillets, it's called. If I recall correctly, this was kinda improvised. So you're about to have a bit some more of method acting.
Yeah, Pax didn't know they were going to actually use his hand.
Also, yeah, again, stop me if you heard this before. Bill Paxton in a James Cameron movie.
Ho!
Wow, that was amazing. He's like a machine with that.
Yeah, Lance Erickson plays the character of Bishop. We will learn more about him later.
You know, this is funny given who Lance Erickson. This is funny given who Lance Erickson will go on to play in the first Alien vs. Predator movie, but
And
I'll
also
mention that
Prometheus.
later. Oh, right, he was in that too.
Yes,
I keep forgetting.
it's also very important why he's in Prometheus. Again, in general, Lance Erickson has become possibly the most recurring actor in these movies besides Sigourney Weaver.
Glad to hear he likes them so much. Ah. Malfunctioned is what they're saying.
Which, to be fair, yeah, 60 years have passed. Forgot how many years have passed, like 40 since Ripley was in cryogenics. So, to be fair, technology might have generally advanced a bit. The newer Android models might be, less prone to malfunction. Alien Isolation will provide, a very good example of what happens when you get to use cheaper, older models.
So yeah, Bishop is another android. And yeah, specifically it's been 57 years since Ripley went into stasis. So, okay, from what I can do from an educated guess, I'm guessing that when cryosleep works the way it does, it's more so that the ships can get there in, like, I'm guessing a year or less. It's just that they need to go into cryosleep so that they can save up on resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, look, Bill Paxton playing the lovable goofball and Michael Biehn playing the apparently troubled-minded guy.
That's officially where the name of the creature is given, Xenomorph.
So Ripley's basically on board as a consultant. Which is funny given how much more heavy into the action she'll be in the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vasquez. Real cool.
Wasn't there was actually a bit of nowadays at least that Vasquez, even though her actress is Latina, they had to wear brown face.
Yeah, it's mentioned here. Much like with Rita Moreno in West Side Story, Jeanette Goldstein had to wear dark makeup to make her character Vasquez look believably Hispanic for a 1986 audience. Brilliant. Thank you, Hollywood, as always.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Don't you just love it when a studio that's trying not to be racist somehow comes off as worse with their methodology?
Anyway, let me use this time to check the different titles that this movie got, because there's a fuck ton. Okay, Japan, Korea, China, and Venezuela just calls it Alien 2. Simple as
Fair
that.
enough.
Thailand calls it Alien 2, the Extraterrestrial Death Squad. Okay.
Well, now that's a mouthful.
Spain in Latin America calls it Alien 2, The Return. A bit generic. Hungary calls it Planet Name Death. That sounds like a bootleg title. Poland calls it Alien the Decisive Clash. And then there are the countries like mine that have the title of the movie, Original Aliens, and a subtitle. Also, these power max are important. This is basically foreshadowing. France, Sweden, Greece, and Germany calls it Aliens: The Return. My country calls it Aliens: The Final Showdown. Yeah, good luck about that. Brazil calls it Alien: The Rescue, which, to be fair, that's what they're trying to do in the movie. Portugal calls it Alien the Final Encounter, which is similar to mine. Poland calls it Aliens the Decisive Battle, and Romania Aliens Punishment Mission. Okay.
You know,
Yeah, the ones that called it the final, whatever. Did they call Alien 3 Alien 3? Sorry, we lied.
Yeah, possible. Let me check. I forgot what my country called Alien 3.
You know, one of the titles you mentioned reminds me of the fact that, get this, Disney World actually did have an alien ride called the Extra Terror SGO.
Yeah, you did mention because
Alien
it was the thing that replaced Mission to Mars.
So, get this though, it eventually got replaced by the Stitch's Great Escape ride because it kind of had some declining popularity and increasing complaints from park guests who, get this, thought it might be a little too frightening for kids. But nah, come on.
It builds
It's
character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. It's just Alien, the ride that features aliens that can literally impregnate you
All
and
right,
have kids that burst out of your chest.
time
What's
for
there to be
some-
frightened of, kids?
Time for some gun porn, because the Space Marines are having some special equipments for them, like that little beauty, the smart gun.
I sense a lot of video games we could make out of this tech.
Well, yeah, to be fair, because of this, more or less, the video games did have a personality in what building for the arsenals of the Space Marines.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, while Alien was a success, I don't think it got nearly as much marketing and collabs as Aliens did.
Oh, to be fair, it kind of makes sense because when it comes to video games of the time, making it more action-oriented made more sense with a more methodological horror, because even horror games that had tie-ins, like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, were action-based platformers.
Yeah, like, honestly, James Horner was kind of James Cameron's go-to guy for a lot of stuff.
Well, I think that was more Terminator 1 composer until he retired.
Anyway, I checked Alien Cubed, yes, because the free stylized like that for the third movie. No, my country retained the same identical title, so unfortunately
Brad people.
they did not mention that they lied to the audience.
Oops. Yeah, that's the thing. It's Alien Q. There's only... Okay, there's technically multiple aliens, but we're really back to mainly just one alien.
I mean, to be fair, it's the third title in the franchise. That's what they call it, like that.
Speaking of looking cool, holy cow, the effects budget for this.
Yeah, you did mention already the budget, but to be fair, for the time, 18.5 was really not that much. Like, how did they manage to have all of this practical stuff with that kind of budget? Did they recycle props from Star Wars or something?
It is James Cameron. The man not only did wonders with practical effects, he sometimes even literally had some new technology made so that filming could be done. In fact, he arguably makes a lot of money on the side from stuff that he patented in the making of some of his films. Like, apparently for stuff like The Abyss, he did make some special diving equipment that other films would later go on to use.
Anyway, I think to mention at this point, since we haven't talked very much about it, you know that scene where Ellen is told that her daughter died?
Mm-hmm.
That was removed from the theatrical cut. That was one of the things that the director's cut restored. So if you're watching the movie on Disney Plus, that scene is not present there, which is kinda, damning. Understandably, Sigourney Weaver was kinda pissed off about learning that the theatrical cut removed that. Because she considered that the scene was kind of crucial to the development of the character, and I agree. Again, I'm gonna have choice of words later, but one big theme of this movie, believe it or not, is motherhood. This is why Metroid took a lot of inspiration from this.
But
can she save the baby that I
purity.
failed?
Family.
But the baby, can she save the baby that I failed and that
Shut
I
up,
first cries in the
Samus.
winds?
Go back shoving your missile launcher into Ridley's urethra, thank you.
Well, I'm sure things will just go hunky-dory for this crew. Anyway, I've checked. 18.5 million in 1986 is the equivalent of $56.37 million today.
So, still not really a lot. And remember, Fox did not really had a lot of, faith in the project anyway.
I'm guessing they really just did wonders with what they could on that budget. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was some recycling as well. Fun fact, actually, while a sequel had been in the works technically since the first movie came out, the sequel at some point actually got its project stalled to the point where there were negotiations to sell the sequel rights to Rambo's developers, Mario Kassar and Andrew G. Vajna. However, those fell through. Yeah. Those fell through, and the project was pretty much left in limbo until July 1984, where Lawrence Gordon had become the new head at that point. This was around the time that production of The Terminator was delayed for 9 months because Arnold Schwarzenegger was contractually obligated to film Conan the Destroyer. And it's thanks to that Cameron had the time to develop his treatment and have a go at the project, expanding it to 90 pages.
Alright, the Sergeant is played by Al Matthews, which was in such prestige movies such as Omen 3, The Final Conflict, and Superman 3.
Oh no.
Yeah. After this, she was in The Fifth Element and Tomorrow Never Dies. Jesus.
Oh.
Hey, I like Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yes, there are worse Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, the one that came after it.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, actually, part of the reason the studio were kind of unsure with letting Cameron just have his way was because at the time of this movie, he was a relatively new director. Keep in mind, when I'm talking about this was at 1984, so this was before Terminator had come out. His only directing credit at the time was Piranha 2: The Spawning. That's right. His debut was on basically the second installment of the most infamous Jaws knockoff franchise, which, funnily enough, also had Lance Henriksen in it. Interesting how all these are connected.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
And maybe it's also a sign that Hollywood needs to open its gates to new people so that we're not recycling the same people over. But I digress. Sorry,
John, what you're talking about? It's all about the nostalgia, about bringing the people that, you knew back in the 80s and 90s and only at that, And don't worry if we're gone. We're just going to create simulacrum using generative AI.
Can you imagine if in the future Hollywood just gets like some cloning technology to literally clone the most famous actors and basically just pass off the infants as the kids of their biggest
I'm more inclined to believe it will try to do their damn hardest to try to, make generative AI look good in the public just so they can start, not using people anymore.
Goody, then no one gets to be an actor.
Pretty much.
But, let's get back to focusing on the good with this movie here.
Like the Rainstorm. That's an actual British production at the end of the day.
Well, speaking of when it rains, it pours, guess what? This movie was also the victim of what we call in the business a Hollywood writer's strike in 1985. since Cameron actually had to finish the script in February 1985, literally hours before Hollywood's writers' strike. Go figure.
Yeah, the other, like I said, the other two writers that assisted for the main story were David Giller, or I don't know, it's pronounced Giller or something, which was a producer for the first movie. And after this, he did apparently wrote maybe one of the versions of the script of Alien 3, and also eventually became a producer for the other Alien movies that we see, starting with Alien vs. Predator. And I think that's the same for Walter Hill, the other writer involved in this.
I suppose credit where it is due. Like, for as much as we do harp on certain writers and whatnot, one thing I've definitely learned is that in the filmmaking process, sometimes a writer can make an amazing script, but once it goes through all the different layers of revising,
and
different
the executive
versions,
producers.
what tests well, and sometimes even the director, yeah, sometimes a writer is kind of just left to be up to it. Mind you, there are some cases where a writer can constantly get work and all their works turn out bad to the point where you do have to wonder, maybe the writer is the problem. Skip Woods!
Assuming that, again, he's an actual real person.
Seriously, we still have not heard from him since 2015. What the heck happened?
But we were talking about also, again, video games and how they adapted for the shooter formula. One of the early, most successful, well-made and popular Doom Total Conversion is themed after this movie. They do some magic tricks in order to have the aliens spawn in a clever way and to mimic stuff like the motion tracker. CV11 talked about that in a video. So yeah, System Shock also took a bit of inspiration, particularly System Shock 2 from this, because you noticed the colonists are nowhere to be seen.
And that's concerning because there's supposed to be a whole lot of them. Like, wasn't it like said to be at least 70 colonists?
Maybe they're all playing hide and seek.
It's brunch time. They're all in the cafeteria.
Where'd everybody go? Bingo?
Thank you, Leon.
Sorry, the doctor can't see you right now. Huh. Looks like someone left a window open.
Also, if this was like Alien Colonial Marines, the characters will basically have to bump into each other and not being able to move.
That is funny when that happens.
Not far for the person that is playing.
No, it is not. That game was kind of a mess. Thankfully, the later Alien game made up for that.
Oh yeah, because Alien Isolation is a complete different beast. I don't know about the most recent stuff that came out.
From what I understand, Creative Assembly actually did most of the work on the game.
Hey, cute hamsters. Oh.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have enough money for the xenomorphs for the movie, so we have to have hamsters as the main villain now.
Yes, the true evil of the movie, Hamtaro.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Hamtaro too. Okay, don't be a backseat gamer, Ripley.
You haven't noticed that skill issue?
That looks like an acid round there.
So, don't touch it.
Yeah, it's consistent with the acid blood.
That's the weird thing, though. No personnel, not even any bodies, though.
It's
Sure.
secured because I said so.
Your mom's ass
Secure.
is secured.
I love how Ripley's personality for most of this is I'm surrounded by either morons or sycophants. Fuck my life. Don't worry, Ripley. I'm sure it'll at least get better after this. Jesus, it's raining harder than a Frank Miller comic out here.
Thankfully, we're not having the heavy splotched contrast shots.
I forget, did Frank Miller have a hand in any of the Batman Alien comics?
No. Those were done by people that had worked with Dark Horse for the most part. Because again, similar to Predator, Dark Horse held the license for a very long time, and even for crossover, they mostly were the ones responsible for doing them.
Dark Horse were pretty keen at basically getting the comic book license of almost anyone who wasn't already affiliated with Marvel or DC.
Yes and no, because a lot of others were still, in other people's hand, like Avatar Press.
Well, that's why I say I feel like Dark Horse was the most prominent in that regard,
Yeah.
at least. Before Image rose up, and then later Archie, and then I think nowadays IDW holds that crown.
Well, Image is having a new imprint that is basically gobbling up a lot of stuff that Hasbro, cares about that used to be IDW, like Ron Space Knight, G.I. Joe, and Transformers.
If I recall correctly, I think they took some props from this movie for the ride cube for when they made the alien ride. Don't quote me on that, though.
Oh, goody! Someone was actually experimenting on the facehuggers.
Dare
What
I
could
ask if
possibly go wrong? Don't bump the glass. The facehuggers hate when you do that.
And we wouldn't want to bother the poor facehuggers after all. Also, perhaps this is proof that Burke really is a good guy. He's a representative who was actually coming along to solve the problem rather than having them do their dirty work for him. Hey, could you let me out? I really, really gotta go. In your mouth.
Sorry, awkward representation for the female reproductive organ. I'm not gonna do that. That sounds like
So
the
they
name for
gotta-
an interesting horror game protagonist.
So interestingly enough, it seems that they managed to stop this one from like laying its egg, but they killed him having to remove the facehugger.
Mm-hmm.
If only we could just tickle them off.
God damn it.
All that's missing is a cat to snarl and jump scare us.
No, Jonesy's
She left
still
the
back
cat
on
at
Earth.
home.
Yeah.
Well, hey, no matter what happens, the cat will at least have survived the movie.
Lovely. Sounds like you're getting warmer.
Oh, pfft.
Yeah, it is kind of like the Predator.
Huh.
You know, it's funny, Michael Biehn was recently in that animated Predator movie.
I love this. Hey, Ripley, we just saw something dark and shifty move by. You take point.
But I'm not a soldier.
A child shooter!
Oh my god! Clearly the xenomorphs have mastered their shape-shifting technology.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, we're actually adding a child psychic to this horror franchise. Please tell me that, they're not actually ruining things up. Well, you will have to see.
She bites.
I mean, yeah, I'll just say that, remember, some time has passed since, Newt saw her, scream with her brother.
Yeah, like, I don't think we ever get a full detail on how long it took the crew to get here, but given that they needed cryosleep, that probably means that quite a bit of time did go by. Thankfully, Ripley can fit through the vents after her.
So, yeah, you can tell from this kind of room that Newt has been survived scrounging everything she could. While trying to avoid the xenomorph. Literally in one of the
Spoilers,
events.
Tio. We haven't seen any xenomorphs yet.
We already saw the acid blood Jova, come on.
I do love when movies still try to act like it's a twist that it's the monster, even when they show irrefutable evidence it is the monster. If
Yeah.
your parents are dead, I'm adopting you.
Yeah, that being said, the movie is not particularly subtle about the kind of, allegory that they're putting there. Ripley has technically lost her daughter in the meantime, and Newt clearly probably has lost, her family. So, of course, the two basically become surrogate, missing family members to each other, which I'm not particularly fond of. And a couple of movie fans also don't particularly like this aspect. Like the idea that, the child character could still be rescued instead of being killed senselessly for, shock value. Yes, actually, that's actually not that bad of an idea. But forcing this kind of angle just because, Ripley's a female character, so we need to insert, the theme of motherhood in it. I don't know about that. I don't even really call it something that is age 40, just, like something that it wastes a bit our time.
I think what would help is if they framed it more as the whole crew adopting her rather than just Ripley. Like, now mind you,
Yeah, kind of something like the Bad Batch.
Like, I don't mind Ripley kind of adopting her. And I do think it probably helps if you watch the director's cut where, we at least know that she's lost a daughter. Like, let me put it like this. With a father or a mother, I can totally get them latching onto another child, since they would still have that parenting instinct in them and all that. So, if for what you tell me, the original theatrical version didn't have that scene establishing that her daughter's dead.
We're just kind of having this coming the fuck out of nowhere.
Yeah, which, okay, I get it. A lot of cuts sometimes have to be made to make something more approachable for a theater run because, they gotta have more theater runs in so they can make more money. What boggles my mind is when they remove arguably critical scenes and whatnot.
Oh,
Now,
but no, don't you see, Joe? We probably should do like what Neil Druckmann did. Instead, have an entire prologue which showcases the horrible, gory kind of way Ripley's daughter might have died. That will actually convey the audience, how sad the situation is.
Jesus Christ. You know what's hilarious is when sometimes a sequel gets made that references a scene that got deleted in the theatrical run of a film.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we've seen her name is Rebecca, she goes by the name Newt. Even your parents called you Newt, even though your name was Rebecca? How much you want to bet that in modern ages that totally would have been a Barbie doll for marketing purposes?
Monkey's paw job. It would have been a Bratz instead.
Well, not with that attitude. I mean, they did try to shoot me. Damn, that young and the child spirit has already been crossed. So yeah, because he's the android and thus a xenomorph can infect him, they're having Bishop study the facehugger, I see.
Why not?
And interesting, just like Terminator 2, our main female lead's gonna have trouble trusting the robot after what happened in the first film.
Hmm.
I'm sure those dots are absolutely them and not something else that could be
Yeah, the
here.
fact also all the colonies, like all of them, just crammed into that one spot. I'm sure that means they're just standing there doing nothing. Right.
Also, the future and they don't have proper camera technology.
Well,
Damn.
again, this is the cassette cyberpunk type of way they're imagining, their future.
The thing that always gets me though is like camera technology existed then. Why do people think, oh, it's more fancy to show dots
Again,
show up?
it's weird considering instead the both Prometheus and Alien Covenant showcases that the technology that they used to have there is more proficient, and even movies that were done in series that were done after this, tries to balance out by trying to say that even if it's like a few years tops, the technology has progressed a lot, like the Disney Plus series.
Like now, I give Alien credit in that I think even as early as that they established that Ripley and her gang were basically the equivalent of like space truckers, so they had like a relatively old engine. But here, this is supposed to be like state of the art tech and whatnot. And like you mentioned, the prequels will show that they did have the tech. Like to give the Star Wars prequels credit, while they had better effects, it felt like they still made sure to have it make sense that nothing looked super advanced compared to the technology we saw in the original trilogy when they made the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Empire are a bunch of cheapskates.
Also,
I mean,
go
the
on.
Empire was kind of less efficiently run. Remember, they had to get rid of the clone troopers and replace them with stormtroopers. All right. Well, time to go rescue those blinking dots that are absolutely the people we're here to rescue. Oh no, they're using the map from the first Legend of Zelda game. They'll be lost for years. Remember that structure I said looked alive? Well, now the colony's kind of looking like that structure. A bit like a hive.
Also, it's worth noting that there are a lot of deleted scenes that still did not manage to make into the special edition. I don't know if there are like extra features on the Blu-rays that you can watch, or we will just give an interview. But there's a fuck ton of them, and it's too many for me to to recount them.
Smart.
Yeah, tell that to the scientists in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, where they keep touching everything.
Without protective gear half the
But
time, I
Joba,
swear.
it's about science, don't you know?
As the son of a doctor, that sort of stuff drives me crazy.
I mean, it's better than Prometheus.
My point with this is that it's basically the exact same problem. Sure, it's better written, but unfortunately commits the same sin. Where, again, it's amazing how a lot of the movies done in the 80s, particularly again these horror movies, still had characters that, despite committing mistakes, were for the most part smart, without willing to make dumb mistakes. Whereas in movies after the 2000, seem to be relying on a lot of characters being stupid by nature and then only occasionally getting smarter as the movies go on.
You see, this is part of why Sinners work so well. Like, when you make your characters in a horror film dumb, you've kind of set yourself up to have more of a comedy than an actual horror. Sinners showcase the horror by actually having your victims be clever and smart.
Yeah, like the character,
then,
the brothers and the rest of the people in the juke joint had no real major idea up until they started talking about vampires. And even then, when they started to making out ideas and everything, the only real mistake that they did was throwing out the guy because they thought he was infected when he was not. But other than that, they were not stupid.
exactly. And yeah, that brings us back to this. While a lot of these soldiers are chuckleheads, no one's technically dumb here. In fact, they are even taking the precautions as well.
Again, this was still the 80s, so, the whole jingoistic angle to showcase how cool the military is was still, I think in full force in Hollywood. Me and Deji have recently seen the Rambo movies again, and the sequels are particularly guilty of this.
I'll admit, as someone who wasn't too familiar with Rambo before, I'll admit the first movie was not at all what I expected given the reputation that franchise had.
You probably should read the book in that case, because the book is exactly with the kind of tone that the sequels have. These more jingoistic, kind of America saving the day, despite, terrorizing its own citizens and everything.
The funny thing is Rambo was supposed to die in the original book,
Yes,
but hey, when suddenly they were making sequels, the offer went, wait a minute, I can make money off of this. Never mind, in the sequel, I'll write that Rambo survived.
Well, again, remember, Joe, but the first movie was also supposed to end with Rambo dying. It was a deleted scene.
I think they changed that because it felt a little too depressing or something
yes.
like that.
Especially because it's Rambo deciding to commit suicide. So yeah, here's the facehugger eggs.
And there's a facehugger corpse, which means that they've done their duty.
So yeah, that's the reason why they found the colonist that they've been using, of course, as breeding material.
I'll give them credit. While we know what's coming, they've shown a lot of restraint in not busting out the you-know-what effects yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, we're almost halfway into this movie and haven't run into a single xenomorph.
Again, despite being more action-oriented, this movie still wants to have a slow pace. Again, helped thanks to the director's cut integrating more scenes that help, sustain this kind of pace.
I do wonder if maybe also part of it was them. Oh, hello there. Why did the eyes open all of a sudden? Oh, wait, no.
She's still alive. Because every little thing is gonna be alright when the chest burster exits your body.
Yeah, she was asking you to kill her. You should have killed her.
And of course, this is very traumatic for Ripley, considering she has had literal nightmares about this. Yeah, just fucking shoot the thing. There you go.
Kill it with fire.
Literally. What will a
And
xenomorph...
Ripley's-
Okay, I was going to ponder what a xenomorph will taste like, but considering the acid blood, it's probably best to not consume it.
Yeah, don't.
You know, it's kind of amazing that with all the stupid ideas that people have had with xenomorphs, I don't think anyone's ever tried to eat one. Oh boy. Yeah, we may have woken them up, because if I recall correctly, I think this is the movie that establishes that xenomorphs tend to get attracted to heat.
And they were incubating up until, new source of food and reproduction arrive. Again, supposedly they're these, ultimate life form a la Shadow the Hedgehog. Sure, buddy.
Even though they
Whatever you're
lose all
saying.
the time to... Even though they lose all the time to predators, so that ultimate life form stuff's kind of BS.
Again, the idea supposedly is that, in group, thanks to their colonies, structure kind of like, bug colonies.
Remind me, did they ever establish if xenomorphs can actually see despite how their faces are?
I think so, because a couple of the video games...
Hello.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. A couple of the video games do let you play as a xenomorph in first person, so if I recall correctly, yes, they are able to see. It's just that they don't possess conventional eyesight. Well, yeah, that was a munition bag.
Well, there goes Tip Tipping and Trevor Steedman.
Again, the Colonial Marines tends to be mostly the canon fodder of the movie, so just so that the aliens can kill someone that you still might not particularly care about it. Hey, there's one of the quotable memes.
Yeah. Would be embarrassing if we shot our own before we shoot any of the xenomorphs. Oh, crud.
Oh.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, crud, that was an actor played by an actual military man. Now we know we're in trouble.
Also, it's always, hilarious in hindsight to see all of these movies, kind of like also the original Predator, that do have this kind of, super jingoistic, cool dude bro kind of squad. And people seem to remember that kind of aspect only for the fact that they always tend to get, mauled by the actual threat of the movie.
I think part of that is because they do such a good job building up the characters, which is something you should do to get us to actually care when they die.
Well, I mean, at least, to be fair, at least he's doing something. All you've been doing is barking ineffectual orders.
That's because Ripley was actually somewhat prepared for this. That dude thought he had things under control. He was not ready for the terror of xenomorphs. This thing looks like a prototype for one of Batman's Batmobiles.
If anything, it reminds me of a Cybertruck.
Nah, it doesn't look ugly enough.
It has the kind of, low poly kind of structure to it, just with the guns attached to it.
I think Batman-wise, it reminds me kind of one of his returns vehicles, or that giant thing he drives in Absolute Batman, and also the Tumbler, yeah.
Yeah. But I also noticed the sound design. Both the pulse rifle and the smart gun have a particular way of sound effect for their firing maneuver, which became basically iconic for this.
Screw this! This looks like a job for Crash Bandicoot and Wrath of Cortex!
Except the Crash completely sucked in those kind of levels.
It's weird for Crash to decide to do Alien, like...
The Crash games were already parodying literally everything, so...
Oh, yeah. Now he's Two-Face. And now he's Toast.
Toasty! Oh no, how we will do it without Drake.
He looks pretty gone to me, Vasquez.
Hello?
Open up!
No, go away. We don't accept Jehovah's Witnesses. Fuck off.
All right, team. Good effort. Let's regroup and take some notes.
One of us can't take notes, sir. The arm's been burnt off.
Semantics. Ow. Comedy.
I don't think
And
there were...
I meant to do that.
I don't think there was much improvisation for these scenes.
Hey, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior?
Jesus.
No.
There were some actual improvised scenes where, for example, during that scenes while they're about to actually do the lift off in order to get down to the planet, the Marine that is upping up their weapons was heavily ad-libbed because it was the one character that you mentioned was played by an actual military guy.
Yeah,
Apone.
The sergeant was played by Apone. Sorry, the character's name was Apone.
Mm-hmm.
The actor's name was Al Matthews. Like I mentioned, he was actually a military man who had even served in stuff as early as the Vietnam War.
So yeah, we're halfway through. The team is being horribly inefficient against the xenomorphs, and how do they get out?
At least let him die in peace. Oh, I think we're about to get another famous line coming up.
Yeah.
So if anyone was left that survived, they're pretty much already dead. Believe it, Bill Paxton, it's happening.
Date vaio.
What advice do you have for us, Ripley?
I think she's too kind. We need a planet cracker for this. I mean, this is Fox, so someone needs to see if the Starkiller base is near completion or not.
I'm sorry, Samus, but that's not authorized.
Oh my
Did they
God.
also get that from Alien?
Possible. I wouldn't be too surprised. Again, I can see that on paper the idea, the obstructive bureaucracy, but in order to be effective, it probably would have had to be something that is just a background thing, but Samus deliberately ignores because she understands the situation. Kind of like what Ripley is doing here,
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, Michael Biehn was brought on at like literally the last minute, and now he has to lead the mission.
It's kind of like with how in, for John Carpenter's The Thing, Kurt Russell was brought in last second because he was friend with John Carpenter.
Hey, you're just copying me.
and his main role was decided the last minute.
So yeah, pragmatic as ever, Hicks is now the one left in command since, well, let's just say he got one hell of a Klingon promotion. So yeah, he's taking Ripley's advice. We get off, nuke it from orbit. That should be simple enough, right? All we gotta do is just make it there.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
It's the equivalent of a Resident Evil, plot having an helicopter pilot. That always goes well for them.
I'm sure she'll be just fine.
Peachy keen. This is not my co-pilot.
What kind of holding pattern is that supposed to be?
It's the crashing one.
That's unorthodox where I come from.
I don't think that's a pattern.
Oh dear. Well, rest in peace, Colette Hiller. You played a magnificent pilot. It's such a shock that you died in a horror film. Oh wait.
Alright, we're about to get another iconic line and another bit of improvisation from Bill Paxton.
He hasn't said the line yet.
Thank you.
Cue the laugh track.
It's like that bit in the Grand Tour where James May said, "Does that mean he's not coming on then?"
He said it. He said the line. You can all go home now. What are they, Minecraft monsters?
They mostly come at night.
Fun fact, the nude's actress regrets saying that line because apparently her brother, while growing up in their family, basically mocked her up constantly with that line.
I hate to say that Sundowner was right, but God, kids can be cruel.
Okay, sorry, it wasn't her brother, but her friends. But you still know what I mean, Waves. People being dicks to her.
Weird thing to make fun of her for, then.
People will find the stupidest thing, Jova.
That is true.
Also worth noting, the reason why Jeanette Goldstein and Mark Ralston performance when it comes to their camaraderie is good as it is because they formed a bond, doing filming, and they actually gaffer taped these mark guns to each other. This was the only way to get modified Steadicam harness to stay on, and the actors were even discouraged from needing the bathroom all day because of the time and the difficulty of getting harness on and off again.
Ugh. As wondrous as some of these movies turn out, Jesus Christ, some of the procedures in making them.
Yeah, as long as you're away from me, I don't care.
That looked like a futuristic version of Space Mountain.
Also, interestingly enough, the scenes back on board of the Sulaco, the one that we saw at the beginning about where the Marines introduced to each other, those were instead the last few movies to be shot. So that way the actors that played the Marines did have the time to build up, a bond with one another over the course of the shooting to make it more authentic.
That's nice. You know, the weird thing about Crash Rafa Cortex when they did parody this was they got the mech, but nothing resembling the aliens themselves, weirdly enough.
That game was also developed here in the UK. Maybe
No, I don't think really being lives it was significant of that. To go on for what you said, Joe, Conker's Bad Fur Day technically had a better homage to this than Crash.
Yeah. Which, Rafa Cortex had a ton of references, and that's not even talking about the voice actors they got. Holy cow.
Well, Conker's Bad Fur Day was all over the place to the point of referencing something that came out like just a few years before, like the first Matrix.
Yep. Although, to be fair, everyone got on the Matrix train. Holy
True,
cow.
but for the case of Conker, that was literally like on the as it came out. It was something very recent.
So, Michael Bean, better or worse than a dystopian future where almost all of humanity is wiped out by robots?
I mean, you just have to pick your poison in this case.
Yeah. No wonder he became a villain by the time of the Abyss.
Also, another interesting anecdote. Carrie Ann, again the child actress who was playing Newt, mostly was fine during the filming, except for one particular scene during the scenes with the vents. Ann was a bit too enthusiastic of using the slides and deliberately blew up the takes so that she could actually use them again and again. And when James Cameron's, understood what was going on, he took her very privately and quietly told her basically that if she had managed to give him one take, she would have been able to use the slide all the time she wanted as a reward.
Damn, so it wasn't that he yelled at her, but he just let her know, I'm disappointed in you in the worst way possible.
No, it was more like of a clever trick to actually get the take without having to actually bully the child. You know, like what happened.
Oh, that.
What happened
Not
with
sure if
the director Tom Holland with the child character in Child's Play.
trying to remember,
Fair
did she Cameron worked with kids before this?
Well, remember, Dweebs, apparently this was like very early in his career. I don't think any child characters were involved in Piranha 2.
God forbid.
Oh, believe it, Newt. This galaxy is this universe is way bigger than you can imagine.
Haven't there? I think there've been even some comics that tie in Alien with Terminator.
Those are mostly crossovers, but nothing more than that. You know, they're not
Okay.
pretending they're in the same universe outside of the restricted environment of the crossovers. Again, when it comes to the shared universe, quote unquote, it's strictly for now just Alien and Predator. Possibly, like I said, hint of Independence Day, but that's it.
You know, you gotta love how one little cameo in Predators 2 was basically enough for them to go, screw it, it's a connected universe, and they have committed to that. Helps that they were owned by the same company, but nonetheless,
much.
what a connection.
Well, I don't remember what company was owning Terminator in the 90s, because Paramount only recently acquired them.
Oh, so now we have a camera that can actually proper look into places. Gee, that would have come in handy for the room where the xenomorphs were nested, but no, we needed to trust the dots. Don't make promises you can't keep, but those are the best ones. Seriously, what the hell even was that line? See, I don't mind Ripley kind of adopting the kid, since it feels like the whole thing just comes naturally in wanting to protect the kid and child innocence in a very daring and dangerous environment. I do agree, though, that it's definitely done best when you know that her daughter died, at least. So where did the eggs come from? Maybe it's a giant gray alien who just likes to make things for kicks. No, that sounds stupid. Plot twist, it's the space jockey that's the mama. And there it is. Perk, you were supposed to be the good representative of Weyland.
Weyland-Yutani having a good representative, sure.
What a joke.
And maybe pigs can talk.
The sad thing was, he was legit nice to her, but damn.
Yeah, also this, remember, this is a bit weird because in the theatrical cut, the scene where Ripley checks the logs that showcases the fact it was Burks orders that basically caused the death of a colonist was not included. So her yelling at him here in the theatrical cut makes no fucking sense.
It's like, I have to wonder, could you not have included those few seconds of her looking at that screen? I get that some deleted scenes add up time in here, but that cuts like that never make sense to me. You'd expect that the woman who saw her friends die to one of these things would be all jazzed to preserve more of them. Is actually firing on them, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, we tried.
are we sure it was even them in there?
It would have been sad if it turned out that what they were shooting at was their backup.
That would have sucked.
$4 hours. That's the length of Alien Colonial Marines.
A horror alien plot where we have a countdown where there's a big kaboom. Metroid really did get a lot of ideas, I see.
Well, that seems Metroid mostly has instead the self-destruct button sequence, at the end, more than anything. Yeah, Les Henriksen also sells well the idea that despite everyone being basically on the verge of a nervous break, particularly Bill Paxton, he's the one that is still remaining completely calm and collected because, well, he's an android.
Mm-hmm. It's not like he can get implanted either. That said, apparently even he's a little scared to go, which that's interesting.
I mean, he's still,
I-
some level of preservation instinct.
Which, hey, I guess shows that Weyland have gone a good ways to make their androids more human-like as well.
Hope he's also not claustrophobic.
Oh, God.
Because, yeah, the tube is not particularly, big in size. Good luck.
He can't even fit with his gun with it. I can only imagine how it must have felt for the actual actor who had to do that.
I'm pretty sure there was some level of safety regulation.
Again, we still can't see what the guns are even firing at.
Oh, okay, we saw a bit of an alien exploding. So yeah, this basically serves to cement the idea that the xenomorph rely on number for the strategy.
Still, like, given the amount of colonists, I wonder how they managed to get so many of them, though. Like,
If I
I
recall
thought there's like just
correctly, they did mention that it was mentioned occasionally that thanks to the facehuggers, they could reproduce, a bigger number of, xenomorphs, despite having only a selective number of, human hosts.
oh god, imagine multiple xenomorphs growing in you. That has to suck. Surprisingly, that line did not catch on.
No. Well, fun fact, the whole bug hunt, thing that Bill Paxton has mentioned multiple times, that is a deliberate reference to Starship Troopers instead, because remember, the book was still very popular even around this time, where no movies was made.
So Starship Troopers went on to influence Aliens, which went on to influence a whole ton of stuff.
It's more likely than you think. Starship Troopers, again, is one of the most influential sci-fi books when it comes to the military, kind of angle stuff.
True. Look, between you and me, I've been in a James Cameron movie where I died. I'd rather survive this one. Well, that sounds like a toy right there. Slap a sticker on that and put it to merchandise.
Brilliant.
Which, yeah, okay, if I recall correctly, how much did they market the stuff tied to this movie to kids?
I don't know. Like, I think that at one point they wanted to have an animated series for kids, which, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Lord. Didn't Mortal Kombat actually make a series for kids, now that I think about
Yeah,
it?
Defenders of the Realm.
And how well did that work out?
Terrible. They made Nightwolf the tech guy for some reason.
Jesus. I guess I'll give him credit also. Granted, it was the 80s, so maybe that's why they didn't try and pester Cameron down to a PG-13 rating, but I do get the thing that
Well,
in
remember,
later...
Jova, it also depended on the company. Robocop 3 was not too far off from this, and that one was afflicted by that. Same for the movie you mentioned before, Conan the Destroyer. That one was, pestered down into being toned down to a PG-13 to, quote-unquote, trying to attract more people in the seats.
Huh, so I'm kind of surprised that with all their doubts for the sequel, they didn't force him to put this down to a PG-13
Okay,
rating.
as far as I remember, Fox around this time was not famous for doing that, so maybe it's because of, again, just the company factor.
Possibly, yeah. Oh, hey, want to know another ironic fact? Back in April 1985, there was a conflict with the cast because Fox actually did not want Weaver to return because they expected her to demand a high salary. Imagine an alien movie where they did not want Sigourney Weaver to come back.
The whole thing of, okay, it's not even just about, the actual demands that she might have had. No, it's just because of the salary. Fucking greedy
Yeah.
bastards.
Oh, How dare she ask for a relatively higher salary, even if we're asking her to come back for a sequel?
Gonna brought her back with 2 more after this.
Yeah, and again, to be fair, there were genuine concerns about Alien Cubed because instead she did have specific demands for when she became back. Not necessarily about the salary, but how she believed the movie should have been made. But I would like to talk about that when we get to that movie.
Just to note, this was something that caused Cameron and her to leave the project. They had apparently left the project a few times already. So they left it, got married, went on a honeymoon, but then they came back eventually, and hey, it was negotiated that Weaver would indeed be returned. And finally, Aliens was greenlit. Christ. As
Wait a
for
minute.
the choice of as for the choice of actress renewed, Cameron specifically wanted an unknown actor to portray her. Essentially,
Newt, we might want to get the fuck out of here.
now try not to panic, but the things that slaughtered your parents might very well be in here with us.
What?
Thank God that facehugger had terrible aim. Okay, so which do you think would be worse to be trapped in the room with? A facehugger, creepy as it is, an adolescent xenomorph, or a full-grown xenomorph?
I argue none of the options are very good because, okay, I guess, the adolescent xenomorph gives you enough, chance of survival because he's still adapting.
No, Ripley, we're not going to do the YMCA with you.
Piece
Bark,
of
you
shit.
snake.
It's all for your stupid corporate profit. Thankfully, we live in an age where that doesn't happen in real life. Ha.
And of course, she left the gun outside.
Alright, it's time to go. It's time to go full Tom Hanks on this in Angels and Demons.
Damn it, it's not as easy as it looks in the movies. Well, good. We found common ground there.
We're on this playing field, so to speak.
While I do get that xenomorphs are probably the more dangerous thing, I don't know, something about facehuggers feels like they'd be much more worse to be trapped in a room with, since I guess at least with a xenomorph, it would probably just kill you. A facehugger, oh, it won't kill you, but it'll do so much worse.
And then I guess they're going to find out about the guy shutting off the camera.
No! Water! My one weakness! Tries to choke her and deep throat
Well,
her
remember,
at the same
that's
time.
the tactic of a facehugger. The tail coils around the neck, make sure that the victim doesn't escape, while literally everything else of the apparatus, constricts around the skull.
That was such a heroic dive for the glass he did. Oh god, that is one heck of a hot potato. Shame on you.
Because that's always the thing with Weyland-Yutani. They want their stupid fucking xenomorph specimen.
What does it say that based off of Alien versus Predator, they might have been smarter back in the day, but have only gotten dumber as technology has marched on?
To an extent. Remember, by the time of Alien Resurrection, they have, at the very least, one major facility where they are fully growing and experimenting on xenomorphs. And apparently a lot of the scripts for Alien Cubed were supposed to have that as the premise. Yeah. I only see one monster here. Already seen these cliches everywhere else.
Yes,
Oh,
man. Uh-oh.
Phoenix, what have I told you about looking for evidence?
But it's important that I think deeply
Wait,
here.
when you mean they, what do you mean? The UK production crew?
I mean, it's not the first
Really?
time Phoenix had to contend with the British dweebs, so who knows?
You could use the executive as a human shield.
So,
Oh boy. Maybe they're right on top of you. I do like that they emphasize not splitting up too far from each other now.
again, the characters are fairly smart, despite being basically in a panic.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, Newt, your British accent was showing there for a little bit.
Blimey. Hey, language, there's a child here. Also, I don't know, man. Again, you can seal the door all the way you want, but like if they have acid, it's not like they're gonna, have much difficulty melting the thing.
Although, to be fair, they have acid blood, not acid spit, last I checked, so...
Well, imagine, Job, an alien
They would have-
sacrificing another to use the acid ball to escape their containment. That
I
will never
wonder...
happen.
But Tito, Ripley just said that they don't screw over their own kind just to get stuff done.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. This is another one of those movies that says only human kill each other, for sport and stuff.
So I guess credit where it's due. Alien Resurrection kind of spat in the face of that stupid line. Hi!
Who?
And yeah, just like in the first movie, the lighting is all over the place because of the muzzle flashes and the thunderstorm for this. Like, there is some effective blue and red lighting, as you can see, because of the emergency lights and everything, but it can be a bit of a nuisance.
Boy, riders at the Disney ride must have had a field day with this.
Okay, Birkin,
Imagine
you
this in
piece
Kingdom
of
Hearts 4.
fucking dog shit. Honestly, I have no fucking idea which of the Alien movies could be adapted for Kingdom Hearts because of being so dramatically different, even in terms of action. Like maybe this, maybe because it is the most action-oriented, cramped environment. But I don't know. I don't think I'm mentally prepared to imagine this particular set of characters having to be more, PG-13 friendly in order to interact with Son Donald and Goofy, and where the stakes are not as high.
Okay, as weird as this sounds, I feel like Alien Resurrection might be the best fit since that's the one where most of the cast survives. Because let's be honest, Sora, Donald, and Goofy would not really let
And
as much of the crew die as they have to die in this one.
and there goes Bill Paxton.
I mean, to be fair, thankfully he did not die immediately, so there is that.
I mean, I'd have preferred to die immediately in this circumstance.
And I think Vasquez is about to get in line very soon.
Look, I'm just a slime ball. At least that doesn't mean I'll run into any ironic comeuppance, I'm sure.
Yeah, speaking of which.
Aye.
Well, there's your specimen.
So, fun fact, one of the deleted scenes is that later down in the movie, Ripley would have found Burke cocooned and begging to be asked to be killed, and she would have handled him a grenade and telling, basically, do it yourself. But for some reason that was cut, even for a special product edition.
Well, I mean,
Shame,
he's a piece of shit anyway. So
yeah, it's just a matter of do you want to actually see him die or just let that imply thanks to the
I mean, I
xenomorph.
think it's implied well enough that he's dead.
I will say the fact that these aliens will sometimes cocoon humans does show that they have enough thought pattern that they figure we could kill some, but hey, some of these will make great hatching vessels.
I mean, it's also worth noting, remember that Bert was unarmed, so that's probably one extra incentive. Alright, let me see if they credited the people inside the Xenomorph suit like they did for the first movie. Let me see.
Okay, that particular xenomorph is sucking up quite a few bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Just weird.
The comics and video games would introduce new species of xenomorphs to spice up the variety, like the tank, which has a bigger carapace on the head, to absorb more bullet and act as a shield for the others to stay behind, and so on.
Yeah, the acid blood. It's weird because some aliens projects can't seem to decide, do we want to make them bullet sponges or do we want to make them actually susceptible to bullets?
Yeah, pretty much. Fun fact, the Aliens Colonial Marines video game is set not too long after the events of this movie, and it's about a squad of Colonial Marines having to clean up this exact same place. So one thing that you can find is actually Vasquez Margun as a weapon to get. Well, if I recall correctly, one of the collectible types is basically the dog tags of all the Marine squad. There we go. The alien warriors were the suits were actually worn by Eddie Powell, which I think was also in the first movie. Actually, no, was the stuntman. Okay, Chris Webb and Paul Weston. Oh no, not the child character.
Tio, we're supposed to care about the kid.
I think I can count on one hand the amount of times characters like this aren't annoying.
It's not even just
I
that,
think
Waves. Like I said, Newt is pretty much here for some level of emotional manipulation, and the only reason I argue people are mostly still okay with this is because at the time it was fairly novel as a concept, or was still more socially acceptable. Again, don't forget the entire impetus for Commando is that they kidnap Schwarzenegger's daughter, and he has to rescue her because he's such a great father. You know.
I personally think Newt is fine enough. Like, again, kid lost and trapped in all this madness here and there. It's interesting seeing how she copes with it all, honestly. I feel like she works enough without getting annoying. And mind you, if you do find her annoying, then maybe still, don't do something stupid with the character, but that's for another story. Okay, all joking aside, though, I think Newt's fine. She's nothing groundbreaking, but I know she has a story purpose, but I feel like the character is charismatic enough, and oh boy, we've got company.
So the big
Why
question:
don't we have lightsabers in the future?
can xenomorphs swim? The answer is yes.
Oh
Also,
boy.
I have no idea if Star Wars ever had a comic crossover with Alien.
And it just
Well,
ran off
shit.
with her.
Oh, but the doll. Oh no.
Symbolism!
Again, this was the time where it was, mostly a novel kind of thing.
You show the doll that shows a child's either dead or in trouble. So, Tio, I know you've mentioned that you've liked Alien Free to Me before, but what are your thoughts on Resurrection? Do you like or love that
It's
one?
very stupid, and I really, really don't like the principle that it injured a lot of its cast member because Joss Whedon is an irresponsible fuck, you know?
I mean, he didn't direct the movie, though, did he?
Wasn't he still responsible for them?
No, he was only the writer. Jean-Pierre Jeunet was the director.
Okay, that the blame goes to him then. You get what I mean. The director was still, responsible for endangering the lives of the actor. Thanks for telling me that, Weaves. But you get what I mean, Jova. The story itself is stupid, but it's basically what I had to be accustomed by that point for the franchise.
Like, not counting the production stuff, I acknowledge it's not particularly great, but I like it better than Alien Free. It still has problems, though.
I guess I can tell that I like it more than Prometheus, but that's not saying much.
Oh look, I'll definitely take Resurrection over Prometheus. Granted, who knows? Maybe I'll find something I was missing and maybe see Prometheus having some genius or whatnot.
Okay, from what I'm checking here from the Xenopedia, collection that reports all the crossover comics they have, they don't seem to have Star Wars comic crossovers, but they have some very, very weird stuff, like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer crossover. What? Okay, Judge Dredd makes more sense considering the respective settings. Of course, there was stuff tied to DC Comics, also Superman, Batman, and Green Lantern. Okay.
What about Star Trek?
No. Okay, to be fair, Star Trek has been mostly in IDW's corner. They don't really do crossovers with Dark Horse, as far as I know. Vampirella had a crossover comic. Weird.
Sure, why not? Vampirella did a lot of weird stuff.
Archie had crossovers with Predator. I already knew that. Okay, Witchblade did a crossover with Aliens and Predator, but to be fair, that it decides to do whatever it wants to do with that. Alien vs Predator did a crossover with the Terminator, like I already mentioned, but like I said, it's fairly contained in its own. They had a crossover with Wildcat, which was an Image comic imprint of the 90s. Not sure, whatever. No, when it comes to Alien crossovers, that's pretty much it. Well, instead, okay, Predator had a crossover with Tarzan, believe it or not. Called Tarzan vs. Predator at Earth's Core. Still in the 90s. What a wild time.
And yes, Ripley's packing heat now, getting the suit up sequence and everything.
More recently, because of the acquisition of Fox by Disney, Marvel is having a new wave of crossover with Alien and Predators, particularly Predator vs. Wolverine, Aliens vs. Avengers, and so on.
Beautiful. Stuff like this is why I never take the allegations that we were lacking in strong female characters beforehand seriously. Again, I get wanting to have more, but people who act like we weren't getting cool stuff like this were
Not to
definitely
mention,
forgetting stuff selectively.
okay, there is something that can be argued about the fact that supposedly the Marine Squad is very diverse in terms of, portrayal, but again, it's still victim of a jingoistic mentality of the 80s, as in Vasquez is portrayed as particularly, with machismo mentality, so quote-unquote, she can be one of the good ones.
One of the guys.
Yeah, similar to what the Jarhead sequels do.
I guess, at least we contrast that with Ripley, who is packing heat, but doing it her way, damn it. It's always funny to realize that in the 80s we still had to resort to cartoon lightning effects. Yeah, just in case.
It would really suck if there was a human there and she died by accident.
Because remember, some humans are Cocoon. That's why it boggles my mind that they didn't have, a deleted scene with Hudson Cocoon. Why not have him blatantly die?
After getting to know him playing Space Station 13, I really cannot watch any more sci-fi media in general, not just movies, but in general, because you can basically trace back any single problem that happened to the space station to basically what goes on in that game.
Huh.
I think I mentioned that when we did the first Alien. So yeah, Newt's dog tag.
But hold on, there's Newt.
Right next to a xenomorph egg, you can see in the foreground. Yeah.
Oh boy. It's your turn, honey.
Yeah, no, I won't let Gwen Stacy die again. Like, I'm actually glad that they're actually not doing the killing the child character for shock value. But again, with unfortunately, you risk running to the opposite side of the spectrum. The fact that child characters are never endangered and they're just, put there for easy to manufacture conflict. It's a very tightrope kind of situation.
It's kind of all like, as far as I know in the Predator movies, you can always be certain that, like, the female lead will survive. In fact, I'm not sure if we've ever seen a woman actually die in a Predator movie. As far as I know, anyway, I haven't seen
The
Badlands or
Alien
the
vs.
animated
I
one.
think Alien vs. Predator Requiem might answer that, but that's a terrible movie anyway.
Okay, I'll admit I was talking mostly about Predator ones, but yeah, I guess that would count. And it's been a while since I saw that, so I don't recall.
We'll get to those
So,
two. Basically, I think we're confident enough about. Oh Jesus! But we can do the
oh,
AVP
snap.
movies after we're done with Alien Resurrection because instead we're caught up on the Predator side.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, if it's
Alright,
any
it's time to meet
consolation.
the Disney princess royalty for this movie.
Yep. You wanted to know where the eggs came from, Ripley? Well, now you're about to get the answer.
Again, the first movie had that scene that was only reinstated in the actor's cut where the alien with the xenomorphs, if in that kind of situation, they could reproduce in a different way. But in here, no, because they have a bug society, they do possess a queen, so to speak.
And she's a big one.
And apparently she can just produce the eggs without having them being fertilized. I guess it's an internal, kind of mechanic similar to slugs.
Oh, we should go.
Yeah, I should go. The Xenomorphs didn't tell me this was an Easter fest. Look at all the egg hunts to have.
Hey, you know what? Mother to mother, you seem pretty busy, so yeah, I'ma just do that. She's holding her kids hostage, 'cause get it? Even the Xenomorph's mother knows the
Because
fragility of
remember,
her
yeah, this
children.
movie's all secretly was about motherhood or some shit like that. I don't know what James Cameron was mocking with this. Uh,
Yeah, now it's really time to go. Ah! Well, that's going to make Mommy very angry. How could you, Ripley? That alien had a family!
no, literally.
Okay, don't waste all your bullets.
Remember, Jova, this is the 80s. She has to go like Rambo.
Of course.
The only reason why she's not
Oh!
screaming her lungs out is because, it's not an immediate requirement.
Oh, and just to do extra damage, she's shooting the queen in her literal egg sac.
It's behind me, isn't it?
Okay, I bet you didn't know that xenomorph eggs were extra explosive.
However, there is something that, was not expected. The queen can detach willingly, the egg sac can move freely.
Which makes me wonder, does she need to, like, grow it each time, or...
Possible.
It's either that or, God, imagine she has to do it the old-fashioned way from now on. Either way, I get the feeling she's going to be very pissed at Ripley. Okay, now we're definitely going Metroid with this.
Yep.
It's just that you don't know
All
the character.
personnel of one and their kid.
Yes.
There's also Hicks and the android dwibs. Well, at least he gives us 4 minutes.
Ripley, I thought you were told about emergency procedure. You don't use an elevator doing an arson.
Take the stairs like everyone.
Language as a child.
I mean, I think they got bigger things to worry about them.
There you go. Oh, hi.
Huh. Well, that's dandy.
So that
Another
begs the
elevator.
question, yeah, can a xenomorph take an elevator?
It's just funny imagining that xenomorphs actually can act sophisticated. They just choose not to.
I
because...
mean, to be fair, like, for 7 years after this, Spielberg told us that Velociraptors can open doors. So you know what? Yeah, it's fine.
That's kind of what separates them from the Predators. The Predators actually do have a sophisticated enough society. It's just that the ones we often run into are, well, hunting.
Uh-oh, no more animals too. You know, what kind of system does this terraforming colony have in order to fucking explode all the time? Like, how much fuel, napalm and oil ranks do they have stored?
I guess in the future we have a huge electricity shortage, so we gotta rely mostly on gasoline for power.
Oh, well, yeah, Joe, I remember. That's what our children taught us.
Yes, we're also gonna go back to using flip phones too in the future.
Again, that being said, what I said, despite me not really understand much how the characterization of, the people starring in this movie would actually go for Kingdom Hearts, admittedly, the Alien Queen would be an interesting boss fight. It's similar to what I mentioned for Independence Day Resurgence, basically.
I could see it. Who knows? Maybe make her a secret boss fight if we
Yeah,
can't think of
maybe.
a whole world. And like that would not even be the most out there one. They had flipping Julius from One Runaway Brain, a short that Disney doesn't even like to reference
also,
these days.
you may said the one piece of the score that everyone remembers, because despite being in a hurry, James Horner managed to score this, Bishop's Countdown. It's so good that the climax uses it twice, and you already heard about it, definitely because it has been used in so many goddamn trailers. That's a terrible blue screen effect.
Well,
Consider the
that's,
colony nuked.
I was going to say that's better, but then it carried on. So, still hate us droids now?
All right, don't rub it in.
Just hope to God he doesn't watch The Lord of the Rings, because when she sees old Bilbo, oh boy.
Well, we finally did it. We made it out okay.
And Hicks is probably gonna be fine, despite needing medical attention.
I will say, while it's a shame Vasquez died, at least she went out in quite possibly the most awesome way, literally sacrificing herself to give them a chance.
Well, your character arc is complete. Now you can die. Like,
oh hey,
holy
look,
shit.
it's Ridley.
It's amazing.
Oh hey, look, it's
It's Ridley's
it's Ridley's favorite. Yeah.
It's amazing how so many cliches we had to do with the test were basically, in a checklist for this movie.
Like, I guess to be fair, Bishop technically survives this since he's. Whoa.
But it's just a model of the android more than anything. It's this Bishop unit that Ripley was talking to.
Surprise!
Also, remember, the xenomorphs can theoretically survive in the vacuum of space.
But yeah, no, what I mean is, if I recall correctly, this same Bishop model technically comes back online for a bit of Alien Free, so technically this didn't kill him, but yeah, he's more or less done. I will agree, I do love Aliens, but I'll admit, it does have some notable writing flaws in the long run.
This poor fucking child.
Okay, so part of me wonders, is the Queen doing this just to start a new brood? Or is the Queen just doing this because she's that angry and she just wants revenge at this point?
Maybe both. It's left to interpretation. Alright, here's time for the iconic scene. See? That's what the foreshadowing was for. Say the line, Ripley.
The claw.
No, not that.
Not that one. Boy, it sure is a good thing that I know how to pilot this.
Language, there's a child in here.
I'm curious if they actually had some hydraulics that they had Sigourney Weaver actually work with that thing.
No idea. So yeah, this is the thing that the Crash 4 references by having Crash actually piloting one of these kind of, mechs. But it sucks
Proper
so...
Cortex.
Yeah, it sucks so fucking much in that game. It's so
It still is
slow.
called Crash 4 in a lot of
It's
places.
not...
dudes.
No, but
Japan, yeah.
yeah, but again, what this means, now that we have an actual Crash 4, it's important for the nomenclature. No, but again, I had no idea what Traveler's Tales was thinking, but the mech is too slow and not really fun to play with.
Not only that, it only shoots. You can't actually do any physical actions with it. It's basically the Wampa Bazooka.
And it also dies
but you
in
have
one
a-
hit.
It's the Wampa Bazooka which gives you a bigger hitbox and you die in one hit. Just... Oh god,
Lovely.
I swear.
Also,
Rifle
another thing,
Cortex.
the trailers for Alien Korean Marines were promising that you were going to use one of these, but because Randy Pitchford was too busy having to make Borderlands 2 instead, that was one of the features that curiously were missing from the final release of the game. Seriously, the fact that Alien Korean Marines was so, pardon the pun for this occasion, torched because of, Gearbox's own, incompetence, and Sega was so also equally incompetent by not managing to win the fucking lawsuit against Gearbox is such a depressing kind of tale. Yeah, you wanna get out of there, Ripley.
Is there a self-destruct in here?
No, but that's basically the, what's it called? The emergency...
Airlock?
Yeah, the emergency airlock, because there's always one. Oh no, we need to do it like Star Trek 3. Well, I had enough of you!
You! Just hang on to something, Bishop. You're fine. You're kind of only half the man you used to be, but you're fine.
Not the machine.
I can only imagine all the technical wonder cases that went into doing the Queen suit. Curse you, Ripley!
Again, the Xenomorphs can survive in the vacuum of space, but to be fair, I think it's only implied that the Queen will be incinerated by entering in orbit in a place.
Wait, did you say
Assuming she's
something?
not-
Remember, space. No one can hear you scream.
Assuming also that the Queen doesn't freeze up from the cold, too.
Your leg, Ripley. There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, all that, and she gets her leg cut off.
I'm very
Not because of
surprised
the
that
alien,
despite giving a bit of hints in a few scenes, they don't actually end the movie with Ripley losing an arm or a leg.
Wow, I guess Bishop lost enough limbs for everyone. Oh, she
fuck
called
me.
her mommy.
Yeah, whatever movie. What is that supposed to mean?
It's an ironic echo. It shows that they now see eye to eye as human and android.
well, her eyes are a lot bigger than his, higher up than his at the moment.
So yeah, Hicks will be medical attention, and the vacuum pod, apparently also Bishop will be. I forgot about that.
Because Bishop needs repairs.
And the movie will end basically the same way the first one did, with Ripley going to sleep. Again, similar to the first movie, just that in this case she will have Newt to also keep her company. I guess it's an upgrade compared to the cat, I suppose.
Don't let Shura hear you say that.
And I'm sure nothing bad will happen. Absolutely nothing.
No, Dwibs. They went and lived happily ever after, and Alien Free is about Newt growing up to follow in her mother's footsteps.
What is that I
Honestly,
see over the horizon? Is that a bunch of executives and creative people arguing with each other?
oh Jesus Christ.
What the heck is David Fincher doing there?
No, okay,
I mean, to be fair, he looks pretty new to this.
yeah, and that's how the movie ends. Just not necessarily with stops, but doesn't really have much in terms of an epilogue.
And
Uh,
then they all
Alright.
died.
yeah.
Alright, gentlemen, you know the drill. Time for final thoughts. I don't think there's any after credits
No,
scenes.
the Alien Queen will not be invited to the Fantastic Four initiative. Dweebs,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
say that again.
Yeah, considering all the production issues that this movie had, some of it out of people's control, some of it because people were being arseholes. The fact that the film turned out as well as it did is a miracle in and of itself. The music, what little there is of it, to be honest, because I mean, James Horner was scoring this pretty late, is solid. All the actors were doing really well, even the young actress playing Newt, despite all the screaming.
Mhm.
Yeah, I get it, she's a child, but they got old after a while. And hey, James Cameron, for being so early on in his career, he definitely shows he's definitely got a style of his own. The effects, dodgy blues, rear projections aside, they all look pretty spectacular, especially for 1986, and they hold up pretty well still today. But yeah, overall, yeah, in spite of all the hardship that came from it, it's proof that, just because someone goes for a lot of production issues doesn't mean the product's going to turn out bad. Yeah, that's it for me. I'll be interested to see how. Okay, I have seen the at least the original theatrical cut of Alien 3. I don't remember liking it very much, but we'll
Welcome to the
see.
club.
We'll see.
All
You know, the
right.
interesting thing is that apparently before Alien Cubed was made, there actually were a lot of comics made that were supposed to follow up on Aliens, and get this, apparently Newt and Hicks were along for the ride in those
It was a
comics.
custom thing at the time. Remember, Jova Star Wars also had that going on between each movie.
Oh,
Uh,
hey, I'll do you one better. Back in the day when James Cameron made Terminator 3D, which was a follow-up from Terminator 2 as a ride for Universal Studios. Well, technically more so 3D experience and show and whatnot, but he did get back the actors for the movie sequences of it.
all right, I'll go next. No, this still holds up for the most part. Definitely better the director's cut than the theatrical one because the scenes that were cut away, particularly about Ripley learning about the death of her daughter, how did Newt got separated from her family. Yeah, remember the scene with the family? That's another director's cut kind of thing. And Burke, learning that Burke sabotaged the colony. Those are things that are quite essential to the plot, and then being screwed over by the theatrical cut, that's really just a waste. So I'm actually glad that there is a director's cut with this, and still a crying shame that Disney doesn't really bother much to show these on its platform that it has dedicated for streaming. It really feels a waste.
Especially since they did have a thing where they had different cuts in the special feature section. Like they literally did that for the Muppets
Well,
Christmas
that's something
Carol
that they
one.
had imposed, and that was because there was no precedent to that. These were existing director's cut that were not present to begin with. But basically, what you're telling me that for the streaming service, I get to watch, technically speaking, an inferior version as a result. But aside from that, the acting is fine. The score is pretty great, despite the rush production. The set design is pretty cool. Apparently, it's mentioned here that H.R. Geiger did not manage to work on the movie, but was pretty impressed by the Alien Queen's design. So they did manage to, stay true to his vision at the very least. And the only thing that I don't particularly like are bits and pieces of the stories, particularly about the quite frankly forced motherhood type of theme. shoved in for Ripley to basically find a surrogate daughter. Again, I mean no secret that I don't have a lot of patience for this kind of thing when products like The Last of Us try to make it a big plot point for themselves, and it's present also here. And also a couple of cliches that probably again for the time were just relatively novel or more accepted, but these days they really feel a bit too trite as a result. But other than that, no, this movie still manages to continue what the franchise did, so I guess we'll have to see how they fucked it up for the third movie. Java.
Yeah, no, I love this movie. To this day, it's currently my favorite Aliens movie, essentially, because, hey, what can I say? It's more or less the equivalent to Terminator 2. It's the most big, high-octane project that did it without arguably jumping the shark in any way. Like Terminator, it took what was purely a horror film and gave it a sense of action, but you still have that horror and dread where even with the side that you were rooting for now being able to defend themselves more, the monsters still proved to be awfully prevalent and very crafty and hard to deal with. The Alien Queen is a very nice antagonist, even if she shows up at the last bit, essentially. And I'll admit, I don't hate all the mother themes in this movie. I get what they're going for, and I think they work off fine enough here and there. But yeah, no, this is a great movie, honestly. The effects are great, the acting is great. Everything about it is just, I feel, quintessential for Aliens and whatnot. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, Alien is the iconic one that started it all. Aliens feels like the one, though, that would solidify the franchise, and like I mentioned, turn it into a quintessential blockbuster, not just with the money it can make despite being rated R, but of course the merchandising. And look, when something that's R-rated gets a ride at flipping Disney World, you know you've done something right if even Disney is pounding at your door for it. So yeah, that was Aliens. Surely things will be all smooth sailing as we move on to Alien 3. Tune in later for Alien Cubed. Eventually, it's gonna be great. Just great and wonderful, and I'm sure it will respect the ending of this movie whatsoever.
And I'm sure it won't kill a director's career before it could possibly start.
See ya.
See ya.